Hello everybody, I'm Gio, and welcome to my channel. We're going to start a new novel today. It's called The Dark. The Dark, Chapter 1. January 8th, the year is 2462. Aboard the long-range cargo hauler, the LRCH Adi Shachar, currently flying 4 light hours out of the Nuestra mining colony. Ian. It should have been a normal run. It started out that way. We landed at the Nuestra mining colony, dropped off our cargo, and spent some time in the food courts. The day didn't end well. The LRCH Adi Shachar was a cargo hauler and long-range courier. My ship. Me? I'm the pilot. Inocencio Alvarado, but call me Ian. The guy sitting next to me is Gallagher. He's the astrogator. The woman behind us? Captain Rowan Scully, of Irish descent, middle-aged, dark hair streaked with premature gray. Once a medic, now a captain, and always very calm. We just call her Captain Rowan. The Adi Shachar was an older ship, battered and used, with the paint worn off because of all the polishing and cleaning we did. Captain runs a tidy ship. My console had a crack running across it, and someday we'd have the money to get it fixed. Yes, it was an old ship, but we loved it. As boring as it was, I wish we'd stayed at Nuestra. The raiders were closing a little too fast. Carruthers, I need more speed, I said into the comm. Carruthers clucked her tongue. I'll have to shut down gravity to non-essential parts of the ship and feed the power manually to the engines. Maggie Carruthers is our engineer. Short, middle-aged, brown hair with red highlights, has a temper. She and Captain Rowan married before I signed on. I've learned not to mess with her. Which is closer, Nuestra or the jump point? Rowan said. Let's see, Gallagher said. He's blonde, lanky, thinks he's a sex god. He superimposed a system map on the main viewer. Nuestra is 4 hours, jump point is 6. You know which one has my vote. Noted. Ian, bring us around. Set course back for Nuestra. Max speed, Rowan said. I danced my hands over the controls, changing power, altering trajectory, and holding on. Gravity suddenly vanished, then returned, but it was at half strength. With my right hand, I fastened the chair's harness around me. With the left, I plotted the turn. With this much build-up momentum, we can't flip around. It would cause too much damage, and we would be paced. Course changed. The turn will take us an hour and might buy us a little bit of time. Noted. Robinson? Rowan called into the comm. Robinson was in charge of atmospherics. Tall man, near 30, his second trip with us. Here, Captain, Robinson said. Bring life support to minimum. Carruthers needs the power, Captain Rowan said. On it, Captain, Robinson said. A surge of power throbbed through the engines, and the Adi Shachar jumped forward. The engines thrummed loudly as the ship responded. Gallagher, lock us onto the Nuestra beacon. We might cut down on unnecessary maneuvering. Ian, launch an emergency probe to Nuestra, detailing everything, Rowan said. Aye, Captain, I said. Wouldn't it be faster to send a transmission? Gallagher said. He took his hands off the console, rotated his chair, and stared at the captain. Reaching over, I activated the controls that locked us on. Think, Gallagher, we are traveling faster than any transmission would. We're fleeing for our lives, and you turn away from your console? Rowan said. If we survive this, I'm docking your pay. Sorry, Captain, Gallagher said. I shifted my foot, nudging something under my console. Looking down, I almost smiled. Guaca, what are you doing down there? Guaca mewed. Guacamole is the ship's gray and black striped cat, 5 years old, and guess who named her? Gallagher. Somehow she's latched on to me. Gallagher, you were supposed to get her in the kennel, Rowan said. Tell that to the raiders. I've been a little busy, Gallagher said. Course was stable for the moment. Where's your kennel?" I asked. Gallagher handed it over. The kennel was a custom-built box with its own life support, padding, and emergency beacon. We might die, but Guaca would survive. Reaching down with my right hand, I grabbed the cat and placed her in the life support kennel. Rowan took it from me and sealed it up. 2 missiles appeared on the superimposed map, both aimed at the Adi Shachar. "Incoming," Gallagher said. "No target lock." "Warning shots?" I said. "Maybe," Captain said back. "Are they still gaining?" Checking his console, Gallagher sighed. "Yes, but not as fast." "What do raiders want in Nuestra?" Robinson said through the comm. He had a point. Nuestra orbited MRD-1, perhaps the poorest colony world in the entire Bentley-Thwaite arm. Main export? Metal mined from the asteroids. Second export? Concrete. Third export? Beer. Nuestra made the best beer of all the colony worlds. A rich, full-bodied, dark lager with a slight honey taste and a full crown of foam that is as smooth as beer can be. The raiders must want the beer, because this system had nothing else. January 8th, 2462. The Azul mining site in the MRD system. Rias. The laser cutter required a complete rewiring before it would work. I had to replace the main focusing crystal and jury-rig a lifter motherboard before it would power up. One quick test, and it worked. Of course, it took 3 tries. And I got grease in my hair. Shaggy black hair, I haven't cut it since the funeral. And more grease on my wife-beater. I bet it's even on my face. One thing about the mines, you can't help but get dirty, and sweaty, and greasy, and dusty. Of course, with my line of work, I'm that way all the time. Stretching my shoulders, I leaned against a metal support post on the 3rd level of the Azul mines. Life here was never boring. Taking the squealing lift to level 2, I hopped off and headed for a table with a busted ventilator on it. Can you guess what my job is? I fix things. I rebuild things. And when I'm off shift, I build things. Just ask my dad. I built his arm. I guess you can't ask him. He died 2 months ago, level 7, just below me. Cave in. When I'm back at Nuestra, I visit his grave almost every day, and no matter what anybody says, I miss him about as often as I breathe. Someday, the ache inside me might go away, but it still hurts. Dad was the only person who cared about me. Anyway, Zacharias Marino Travieso, at your service. Don't call me that. Zacharias was my father. Just call me Rias. Everybody does. First, I take the ventilator apart and line up the pieces on the table in the order that I removed them. The motor is burned out. The newer ventilators don't compare to the older ones. Those lasted twice as long. But the Bentley-Thwaite Corporation knows best. Second, I look through the box of parts by the table until I find a replacement that will work. The replacement is from one of the older units, and with a little filing, I make it fit. A quick weld, and a few minutes later, the ventilator works again. My next job is on level 7. The lift squealed, metal on metal, as I descended. I always get nervous coming down here. It's not because that it always loses atmosphere, and no one can figure out why, or that the lights always flicker, or the main atmosphere units randomly shut down with no reason. No, I would have died down here if my dad hadn't pushed me out of the way of the collapsing wall. It hadn't been a large explosion, just a minor one to clear a small path for the lifter, and everybody had been safely away. No one had foreseen that the wall by me would collapse. Dad screamed and pushed me, and I watched as the wall engulfed him. I remained on the lift, hesitant to step off. The table with another broken ventilator is only a few feet away, but I can't move. It's like this every time I come down to level 7. Grabbing the unit as fast as I can, I take the lift up to level 6. Each level has a table for me, a box of parts, scrap in case I need to cut a custom part, and extra tools. I've made sure each level is fully stocked, and I have my own personal tools with me at all times. Except on level 7. It's only a bare table and no tools. Whatever they need fixed, I take it to another level. It's an easy fix, simply a couple of loose wires. Then it's on to level 0. Level 0 is ground level. Housing, airlocks, main operations for the mine, shuttle platform, my main table with all my scrap and parts. Everything is run from level 0. Azul isn't the only mine, but it's just the only active mine on the Nuestran asteroid. The others, Smiling and Corona, are on nearby asteroids. A few others are on ones further distance, but we haven't discovered an asteroid as big as Nuestra. Nuestra Madre del Santo Sangre de la Cruz mining colony, a 60-kilometer chunk of rock, the biggest in the MRD-1 system, and I call it home. The joke around here is that the name is bigger than the asteroid. Shifts are 10 days at the mine, 10 days back in Nuestra. Or, in my case, wherever they needed something fixed. I'm afraid it might be South Dome sewers someday. The yellow extra shielding vac suit has a broken atmosphere regulator. It's not considered high priority. Azul doesn't have a radiation problem, but I take it apart, remove the used filters, and line up every nut, bolt, screw, and piece of the casing on the table. This one will require a little bit of time. Burnt out motor assembly, which has also fried multiple wires. It didn't have the insulated wires it should have had, but the thinner ones. Somebody had repaired this with the wrong components. Good thing I have some of the insulated wires on level 3. My datapad beeped. I built it. Well, rebuilt it, of course. The current models didn't have the memory I needed, or the processing speed, or the extended sensitivity. My datapad may look old, but inside, it's as complex as anything CNC has. CNC? Command and Control. My datapad has dual AI custom processors with enhanced voice sensitivity. That's right, I can talk to it, sync with anything with an AI, and have access to anything Madre had. Madre is the Nuestran AI that runs everything. My uncle, Marcial de Leon, is calling. He's the boss of this shift, big-bellied and good-humored. He and my dad were more like brothers, but they weren't. His wife, Perlita, was sister to my mother, Lucinda. Mom died giving birth to my sister when I was 13. Rias, drop whatever you're doing and head to level 2. Broken grav lifter has blocked the door to the bathroom. Of all places, 2 people are trapped inside. There's worse places to be stuck. I'm on my way, I said. This is my first tour of duty to the Azul mines, officially. Before, I had been with my dad and helped fix things. Now, it's my official job. I'm the guy who can repair almost anything. And that's my job on Nuestra. Sometimes I wonder how they managed in the Azul mines before I came along. The mines were dark, except for the track lights occasionally breaking through the shadows. It's darker the further you get from level 0. The level 2 bathroom isn't far from the lift. Somebody was driving a smaller lifter, overloaded with ore crates, and the grav unit failed. The problem could be in multiple places. I reached around the fallen crates and pounded on the door. Rias here, give me a couple of minutes and I'll see if I can get you out. It's not the power systems, but I caused a temporary surge and the lifter bucked backwards, freeing the door. Another crate fell. However, 2 happy miners are set free. Happy, because today is the last day of our shift. Time for 10 days off. With a word of thanks, they headed back to level 0. I'm alone. That's when I think best. Crowds bother me, and since the accident, small spaces bother me. There are certain parts in the mine I cannot enter. Too narrow. My dad was a miner. I'm not. The guys here understand that, and whatever needs fixing, they bring to my tables. The lift screeched as it took the miners up, leaving me in blissful quiet. Then I traced the problem of the grav lifter, from power cells to the grav unit to the AI module to the control board. It's in the control board. Another shorted motherboard. I have a replacement on level 3. So I hauled my butt down to level 3, grabbed the part, hiked back to the grav lifter. 10 minutes later, it worked. How about that? First try. Rias, you're so slow. The crawler's here. Marcial called down the lift tube from level 0. Get up here before we leave you behind. Give me a minute to clean up the grav lifter, I said. Next shift we'll have to deal with fallen crates, but at least the grav lifter is working. I took this level's tools to the table and lined them up, making sure they are precise. One needed sharpening, so I packed it with the ones I carried. Every time I rode the lift, it screeched and screamed. Something inside the housing was rubbing on the wall, but I haven't had time to track it down. Next shift, if they send me back here, I'll deal with it first thing. However, as I get to the top, my datapad beeped again. 2 new messages. The first was from my friend Gutierrez. His first name was Alejandro, but nobody called him that. He's been Gutierrez since sometime in the middle grades. He helped me with math because I always get it mixed up. What I see in my head doesn't make it to paper. Same with words. Yes, I'm dyslexic, and I'm fine as long as I don't have to write anything. As my aunt always pointed out, I have a problem. But that's never stopped me from designing and fixing and building and dreaming. The Zheng He will pass through the jump point in 3 days. If you're interested, we can fly Shuttle 1 out and take a look, Gutierrez's message said. He knows I am interested. I love ships of any kind. That's what I build when I'm off shift. Ships. I've made dozens of replicas over the years, and I want to build the Zheng He. What's so special about it? It's the Lunar University Long-Range Exploration Vessel, or LREV Zheng He. It's one of a dozen ships with slow drive, which means it leaves known space and explores where no jump point has been laid. It makes jump points by distant stars so the couriers and the cargo haulers can go there. Exploring is in my blood. My grandfather piloted the LREV Joya de Vida and discovered MRD-1, home. He and his family were part of the first colonists here, and when he and the Joya later disappeared, the first dome was halfway built. When I arrived at the top of the lift, Marcial was waiting for me. You had to stay to fix the grav lifter, didn't you? You're lucky the crawler is late, or you'd be here another shift. Sorry, I said. Marcial and Perlita are always annoyed with me. When I was younger and Dad was on shift, my sister and I would get dumped on them because they were family. We were in the way of Perlita's career, or I made too much noise fixing things, or made too much of a mess cutting out parts for my toys. Or they were annoyed because my tutors came over daily. Later, when Dad was off shift, we lived with him. When he was on shift, I lived in this secret alcove in hydroponics, and my sister stayed with random friends. If anyone asked, I lived with Marcial. The school always wondered why I was so dirty. Then I would fix the power regulator in the school, or some flickering light, or some other things, and nobody would care. I checked the other message. The Lunar University? I applied for the extension course on Campbell Station months ago. I flipped it open. Mr. Travieso, we are sorry to inform you that, though your ability shows promise, your mathematical skills are not up to our rigorous standards. As this is your 3rd attempt to enroll and 3rd rejection, we would like to recommend a trade school to further your education. Thank you. Dr. Marlowe, Director, Campbell Station. Marcial was looking over my shoulder. What did you expect? The sooner you realize that some fancy college isn't for people like us, the sooner you can move on with your life. I know. It was just a dream, I said, enduring the hollowness in my stomach, and hit delete. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. We'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, the little noises you heard in the background, That was my dog snoring. Isn't she cute? I'll talk to you later. Bye.